Didn't want to hit you with this at the very beginning of school, but we've had some time together. I think we're all acclimated to school. So let me share with you the nuts and bolts of what you're going to see on the exam. And let me be very clear. This is not the only time you're going to be exposed to this. Far from it. You are going to see this time and time again throughout the year. But I want to give you a schematic, an overview, a framework, whatever you want to call it, of what's going to be on the test. So the test is in two parts, half MCQ, half FRQ. MCQ stands for multiple choice questions. FRQ stands for free response questions. As you can see here, you will be given 55 questions and you will have 80 minutes to get those done. And then you will have 100 minutes to complete for FRQs. And as you can see, there's 4 different types with 4 different point values. And that's the test. Now, as for the MCQ, this is a very content heavy class, and to memorize everything is a virtual impossibility. However, the College Board did share with us where they are getting the majority of their questions. So even if you're not that great at statistics, you can see that Unit 2 is a whole lot more important than Unit 4. And part of my job is to emphasize the key things. And the reason I bring this up, come late April and you're on crunch time, you're short time until the test, you probably want to put your eggs in the Unit 2 basket more than the Unit 4 basket, okay? I'm not saying disregard the low number ones, but know where the majority of your MCQ questions are coming from. And here's some tips. Know your material. There is no substitute for putting the work in. If you think you're going to cram it all in a week or two and magically get a 4 or 5 on the exam, likely not going to happen. Okay. Number 2, improve your weaknesses. You have to be reflective. You have to know where you are weak. Now, a lot of people, I'll give the parallel as a coach. A lot of kids have big upper bodies, but little chicken legs. They don't like the squat rack. They like the bench press because they're strong. But in reality, they need to hit the squat rack more than the bench press. So know where you're weak. Talk to me. I'll try to identify it with you. Work where you're weak. If you're strong, great. You got it. Move on to where you're not so strong. Read the questions carefully. Slow down. One word can alter the outcome. Just slow down. It's really helpful. Don't panic. Keep your head. You walk in there and you're panicked and you're freaking out. No good can come from that. We're all individuals, but do what you need to do to put your mind in the right frame. And don't suffer imagined troubles. Don't be these people who, oh, what if I don't do well enough? Or, oh, this one was really hard for me. What if the rest of them are? None of that is fruitful. Again, the worst case scenario is you get a 1 on the AP exam. So what? You have to take the class in college. However, you have an AP class on your transcript and you have a weighted grade. Okay, there's nothing really bad that can happen to you if you don't do so hot. Keep your head. Pace yourself. It's about a minute and a half long. And we'll practice the pacing throughout the year. And know the different types of multiple choice questions. There's definition or identification. You need to have your definitions, cause and effect. Okay, this was the cause, which caused this effect. The Roman numeral questions, these are interesting ones to me. They're going to give you a bunch of lists, and you have to decide which one is the most correct. D is accept or not questions. There's 4 statements or lists that are correct, 1 that's not. These are tough, okay? And be careful of the wording, okay? Because a lot of people lose the intent of the question because they didn't read it carefully. So it would be something to the effect of all 4 of these are wrong. All 3 of these are wrong except for this one. Which one is not? And then graphic questions. You're going to be using a map, a chart, a table. Those are fairly easy. We should do pretty well on those. Eliminate answers that are obviously wrong. It's called process of elimination. It's statistics. Okay, if you can eliminate 1 as wrong, 1 out of 3 beats 1 out of 4. If you can identify 2 as wrong, 1 out of 2 beats 1 out of 3. You play the game. It's increasing your odds. Now, the hard part, there's these answers that are obviously wrong. Those aren't hard to find, but there's these distractors or red herrings. Almost right. If you can kill that answer that's almost right, you're going to do well on the exam. That might be the hardest skill for people to master, but we'll work on that. Look out for all of the above. Now, I'm not saying it's 100% correct if it says all of the above, but statistically more likely to be correct. So heads up for those. When you're stuck between 2 questions, look at the wording one more time. There's usually a qualifying word, that one hinge word that will make or break how you're going to go about doing it. Number 11, understand the progressive difficulty of multiple choice. The easier ones tend to be at the beginning. So get your points in when you can. They're all the same amount, but don't rush through the easy one because sometimes, oh my goodness, that's so easy. I'm going to zip through it. And you make an error in your haste, and that's a point you left on the table that you knew that you should have gotten. And trust your instincts. Don't get into your head saying, oh, no, maybe I'm wrong. Humana, humana, humana. Go with your first instinct. Statistically, they're more correct than the second guessing. Okay, so those are the tips with MCQ. Now, for the FRQ, you have 100 minutes, and you have a concept application for 3 points, quantitative analysis for 4, SCOTUS. Now, if you don't know what SCOTUS means, Supreme Court of the United States, comparison, 4 points, and making an argument. As a matter of fact, looking at the CED here, these are the skills. Hey, what do you notice? Hey, they match these. Hey, what do you know? Okay, so these are the areas we need to know. Concept application questions, I think they can be somewhat hard. However, they are 3 points, and you have describe, explain, be specific as you can. Now, describing something and explaining something are different. They're different. Explaining requires more words. At the same time, don't get too wordy. Only provide pertinent information. There's not a minimum amount of words you need to write in an FRQ. If you're writing superfluous nonsense stuff, you're not getting any points. You're probably ticking off your reader and you're wasting your energy. Don't be that person, okay? Just be specific, include it, and you can see here you have describe a power, be in the context scenario, explain, in the context scenario, explain, and it's going to be a conceptual item. Now, what I think is the easiest of the 4 are the quantitative analysis questions and identify, describe, explain. Identify, short and sweet. Say what it is. Describe, mid-range, explain, go into a little more detail. So you're going to have to master graphs, maps, charts. I will provide you plenty of those throughout the year. And you get 2 points for letter B, finding a pattern. So be pattern seeking. Be able to connect it to broader history and broader constructs. So that's why that's a 4.1, not a 3.1 like the prior. Now, the third FRQ is your SCOTUS comparison, and 4 points as well. Now, these are a list of the Supreme Court cases, and believe me, you will know these by May. And I provided that list that the CED provided. So point 1, you identify the constitutional issue of the case. Points 2 and 3, you provide facts about the case and explain the reasoning behind them. Point 4, which I'm going to call the hardest point to earn in the FRQ, is they're going to throw you a fairly esoteric Supreme Court case. You may not have heard of it. Sometimes they're curveballs, but hopefully you have enough information that you can describe that interaction between the holding and the non-required Supreme Court case and a relevant institution or process or behavior, that kind of thing. But point 4, that 4th point is a hard one, just to give you a heads up. And the final, which I think is the most interesting, is the argumentative essay. And I provided you the rubrics I'm going to give you throughout the year. So these are how you get your points: claim, evidence, evidence, topic, evidence, reasoning, alternative view, and you will make an argument. Be argumentative, but don't be argumentative and just use emotion and I think this and I feel that. That's cute. Doesn't really work for an AP exam. If you make a claim, back it up. Back it up. David Hume says a wise man proportions his beliefs to the evidence, and that is true. So you make an assertion, back it up twice, and the reasoning, and know how the other side feels about that. And in my opinion, this is a good life skill, not a school skill, but being able to go out there into the world and listen to people, identify what their argument is, be able to tear that down, and support your own. That will not go away. Okay, last slide. Perspective to finish with. I probably gave you a drink with a fire hose, not the most pleasant thing. It's more easy to have a garden hose to drink from. Now, what's up with this analogy? You have a choice. If you work consistently throughout the year and you discipline yourself, half hour a day, by the time April rolls around, you're drinking out of a garden hose. If you dilly-dally and you're not doing the right things and you're trying to cram in this ridiculous amount of content in a week or two, that's hitting yourself in the face with a fire hose, and that is not a very pleasant thing. That's up to you, but early in the year, I want to get this perspective. Pace yourself, discipline yourself. Good things will happen to you in May, and hopefully we all get that college credit. All right, so I appreciate you watching.